This is India's first TV series which brings to you countless stories of the very first science and technology breakthroughs of yesteryears, as well as the dazzling advances of India today in both basic science research and technology. Join us as we explore how India kept achieving its first in science and technology.
India's first in science and technology.
দেখবি যদি তাহার স্বরূপ কোন ভক্তের সাগর সান।
This episode takes you to West Bengal and introduces you to a couple of India's first in science and technology.
নিজের জমিন পতিত রেখে তুই পরের জমিন বুনলি ধান।
This is Kolkata. Known earlier as Calcutta, it was formed in 1690 as an amalgamation of three villages, Sutanuti, Gobindapur and Kalikata. But it has since grown into a sprawling metropole and the principal center for trade and commerce in eastern India over the last 3 centuries. The city and the state has many scientific firsts to its credit. Here is the first story for you. India's first institution for scientific investigation.
India's first in science and technology.
The Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science is the first institution in India to be established for carrying out scientific investigations. This association aimed at creating an Indian center for carrying out investigations in natural sciences as well as for popularizing science in India.
In January 1876, Mahendra Lal Sarkar, a physician and the second Indian MD, in collaboration with Father Lafont, the legendary teacher of physics at the St. Xavier's College, Calcutta, generated support among Indians as well as in government circles for setting up at Calcutta the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, which was then located at number 210 Bao Bazar in Calcutta. Till 1904, hardly any research was undertaken at the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, but come 1907 and things changed when a bright 19-year-old started research here.
India, we are proud of your science and technology strength.
Look at this place. This is how number 210 Bao Bazar in Kolkata looks like today, and this is the place where Chandrasekhar Venkat Raman devoted himself fully to the cause of science. This space here used to be his so-called lab where he discovered the Raman effect in 1928, which got India the first Nobel Prize in Physics in 1930.
What happened was, initially he saw he didn't have any instrument. He used to sit in a dark room. If you stay in a dark room for a long time, your eyes will become very sensitive. Then you can see a very faint streak of light, we call single photon. So he will stay in a dark room, then he will open a small hole, sunlight will come, you will put a green filter, so green light will fall on your shampoo. Then he will block the green light, then he sees a yellow light. So this Raman effect is basically if a green light falls on a liquid, it becomes yellow light. And energy of yellow light is lower. The scientific question is, what happens to the rest of the energy? Suppose I take a green light which has higher energy, then I give out yellow, where does the energy go? And this Raman took some 4 years to understand, and then he said it goes into the vibrational energy of the molecule, vibrational rotation. And this started a new branch of spectroscopy called vibrational and rotational spectroscopy, and in general Raman spectroscopy. And when he discovered this, he immediately understood this is going to get Nobel Prize. And he was so confident that when the Nobel Prize telegram came to him on 15 November in 1930, some people say, "Sir, how will you go? There was no plane, you will have to catch a ship, and you have to, it takes 10-15 days, and you will have to get a reservation in 1 day, that is not possible." And Raman opened his drawer and he showed that he has bought 2 tickets to go to Sweden 6 months in advance. So he was so much confident.
We are proud of your science and technology strength.
Today, Raman's discovery is a breakthrough technology. Scanners called Raman scanners detect hazardous chemicals and gases. It can see through drugs and explosives carried by terrorists. And the police forces use Raman scanners for forensic work. The scanners work by detecting the molecular structures of the object they are scanning. Well, if you shoot a beam of light on an object, a very small part of it interacts with the atoms of the object and scatters light in a pattern unique to that particular molecule. This is the Raman effect. Every molecule has a different Raman pattern. This is why the Raman scanning has been called the fingerprinting of the universe. It can identify substances as surely as fingerprints can identify humans. Around the time the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science was set up, another bright star, Acharya J.C. Bose, was studying at St. Xavier's College in Calcutta, and that's the next story for you.
India's first in science and technology.
Acharya J.C. Bose, by 1894, stunned the world by his discovery of microwaves and transmission of signal without wires, that is, wireless communication.
This is the Presidency College in Calcutta, in West Bengal. This is the place where Acharya Jagdish Chandra Bose used to teach physics. And this is the place which is the birthplace of microwave generation research. We are told he converted a small place outside a bathroom into his laboratory. Without much of the facilities of research that the scientists of today enjoy,
it was as late as 1998 that Acharya J.C. Bose was recognized as a co-discoverer with Marconi for wireless radio propagation through free space. The development of broadcasting in India is the third story here, and that is India's first broadcast transmitter.
India's first in science and technology.
While working at the University of Calcutta, Professor Sisir Kumar Mitra a radio scientist of high repute, got involved in the development of broadcasting in India. It is interesting to note that there was a time when Professor S.K. Mitra's transmitter in his wireless laboratory and the radio club's transmitter at Dalhousie Square were the only ones broadcasting regular programs in the eastern region of India. It was Professor S.K. Mitra again who was instrumental in putting up India's first Ionosphere field station.
India's first in science.
We have just left the University College of Science and Technology, where the Institute for Radio Physics and Electronics is located. Dr. Ashik Paul is with us, and we are on way to India's first ionospheric field station at Haringata. Dr. Paul, tell us about the genesis of this station at Haringata. How did it all start?
This all started with the initiative of Professor Shishir Kumar Mitro. Actually, he was working at the wireless laboratory of the Department of Physics, University of Calcutta, and it was there that the first initial ideas behind the establishment of this kind of a ionospheric sounding station took place. And a couple of years later, around 1954, the ionosphere field station was established at Haringata, at a place where the radio frequency interference was considerably low in those days. Even nowadays, it is situated about 50 kilometers northeast of the city of Calcutta, and it was at this place that the first manual ionosonde in the whole of Asia, not only in India, was assembled and tested and operated by Professor Mitra and his group of dedicated scientists.
So what is ionosonde?
Now, an ionosonde is an instrument that is used for probing the ionosphere and measurement of the different parameters associated with the ionosphere. I will just mention that the ionosphere is a layer, an ionized part of the atmosphere, which roughly extends from about 60 km to 2000 km above the surface of the earth.
I mean, to what final end use do you put all these inputs that you get there at this station?
The final objective is to where we can actually predict that at such and such time of that day, of a particular day, there will be outages of satellite links or disruption in the satellite communication systems. Then that will be extremely helpful, because the present society is very much dependent on satellite based techniques. It is very much in use in the modern man's life, in the common man's life as well.
The Haringata field station forms part of the worldwide network of ionospheric stations and transmits routine data to world data centers through the Radio Science Division of the National Physical Laboratory, New Delhi. Concluding this episode of India's First in Science and Technology is the story of India's first IIT, the Indian Institute of Technology.
India's first in science and technology.
This building on my back is number 5 Esplanade East in Kolkata, earlier known as Calcutta. This is where the first IIT in India started, and it then shifted to Kharagpur.
বড়ই আপন জমিন আপন বস্তু হলি হারা দেখিয়া পরের চেহারা এই আপন বস্তু হলি হারা দেখিয়া পরের চেহারা এবার আয়নার পিছে.
So these are the Hijli prison cells in Kharagpur in Bengal, which is about 3 hours from Kolkata. This is the place where the first IIT in India was established way back in 1950. This is the place where people were kept in confinement who wanted to be liberated from the British rule. And this is the place where they were fed arsenic in their food, which means we didn't get our independence that easy. It was tough. It was also tough deciding as to where to put the first Indian IIT. The reason that the first Indian Institute of Technology was to be established here is the fact that people who mattered that time thought that this area has lots of engineering industries and it merits a place where engineering is taught, technology is understood. And somehow Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Indian Prime Minister, was convinced that this should be the place where they will put up the first IIT. So this is where the first classes of IIT were held in India. Today, it's called Shaheed Bhavan, the Hijli Shaheed Bhavan. Today, it's a museum of science and technology.
We are proud of your science and technology strength.
One of the first departments to be established at this first Indian Institute of Technology in India at Kharagpur was the Department of Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering. It took about 40 years to build a group of people who could understand the ins and outs of ship designing and building.
India, we are proud of your science and technology strength.
Well, these were just a couple of stories of India's first in science and technology in this part of the country. There are more in this region. The next edition of the series, India's First in Science and Technology, would bring to you a new set of first S&T achievements of India. Keep watching and tell us what all would you want to see in this series.